Hi there, my name is Kim Nixon. I've been teaching yoga with MaineGeneral since about 2014. So, with the shutdown of classes during this whole coronavirus thing, they had put it out to the teachers that we could do some videos for all of you. And I decided that I wanted to focus on something that really aligns with my teaching style. So this is my studio where I teach my live streaming classes. My classes, I have a tendency to focus my classes on the therapeutic value and therapeutic application of yoga. So that's what I wanted to focus on for this little series. This second class is on the therapeutic application of yoga for low back care. So, this is something that's pretty close to my own life, my own heart. Before I became a yoga teacher, I've been teaching yoga since late 2012. I attended yoga teacher training in 2012. Prior to that, I worked in state government for 29 years. So for 29 years, I sat at a desk, I worked at a computer. Um, think about that. So for 25 of those years, I had low back pain, low back pain, low back issues, ongoing. I would see chiropractors and osteopaths, whichever I was seeing at the time, generally once a month, for most of the 25 years of that low back pain issue that I had. And, sometimes it was just kind of a little bit nagging, and sometimes it was really intense. So, what I have learned since then is that a lot of those issues that I had were actually caused by sitting in a chair. So think about that. We're sitting back straight, bent at the hips, and bent at the knees. So what that does, what I've learned my issue was caused by primarily was shortened hip flexor muscles. So our hip flexors are in here. Mine are tight today because part of our American lifestyle, we do sit a lot, whether it's driving, sitting at our computer. Even as a yoga teacher, I have a lot of admin that I do. So tight hip flexor muscles. So our focus today, so this is for anyone who has low back discomfort, low back pain. This is going to be a very simple series that I'm going to show you today. For this series, it would be good if you had a tennis ball. If you don't, it's no big deal. So tennis ball or big firm dryer ball or one of your dog's balls. So, not necessary. You can always watch this video at a later date when you do have a tennis ball. The thing that I'm going to show you with the tennis ball is something that helps me so much. The other thing that you're going to need is a couple of blankets. So, one to spread out on your floor or on your mat, and another that we're going to use to lift our seat up. So let's get started. So I'm also a massage therapist. So a lot of my teaching philosophy comes from that sort of blend of yoga, what I can teach through practices, and what I know from massage. Um, so let's just get started. So take your tennis ball if you have one. And I'm just going to have you just have a seat. Bring your legs out in front so the soles of your feet are on your mat. This one helps me so much because these joints, right where our hip joint meets, these get so tight. I think more so as we age, absolutely more so in cold weather, depending on what we're doing, more so with sitting, but they can also get tight with active exercises like running or just walking. So this helps me a lot when I'm having lower back discomfort. This can also help with sciatic nerve stuff. So if any of you have a massage therapist, we're kind of looking for that spot where the massage therapist sticks her elbow in to your glute. So soles of the feet out in front. I'm going to turn sideways in a minute so you get a second view. And I'm just going to take this tennis ball and I'm going to place it sort of right in the soft part of my glute. I'm going to turn sideways for you now so you can see. What we're looking for is we're looking for a place where it's tender. So what I'm going to have you do is just start to rock toward the ball. So hands behind to support, just rocking toward the ball, and rock the knees over so that some of your weight is on that ball, and see if you found a spot that might be a little tender, because that's what we're looking for. So we all generally have some tenderness in this area. So I'm doing this just gently. I'm not doing this aggressively. So if you haven't found a tender spot, and there's going to be more than one, so this entire area right here is the area that I'm working with. So this is kind of where the ball joint of the leg meets with the hip bones. And there's all kinds of connective tissue in there that's super tight. So just start to breathe and just start to rock into this ball. In through the nose and out through the nose. We actually did a whole 2-week series in my live streaming classes on yoga for low back care, and this is part of that. This helps me again so much. It's been helping me a lot this winter because especially my right hip is tight, so switch sides with that. And the thing is, when we have tightness in these joints, it will often display as low back pain. I use that term a lot, display as, so it doesn't. So there are many muscles that can, so just start to rock the same way as the other side. If you haven't found it yet, move it a little bit. If you find a spot that's excruciating, move away from that spot. You don't want that spot. That spot is too tender, so just move it a little up or down or left or right. So there are many muscles that everything's connected, but there are certain muscles that will often be involved with low back pain. So one set of those muscles are the hip flexors, like I was showing you earlier. These hip joints, tight hip joints can come into play. If you find a spot that feels particularly good here, just rock off into that spot. Tightness in the hamstrings is a huge contributor to low back pain. So the thing is, sometimes we're feeling pain in our back, but it's not really an issue with the back muscles. It's often because the back, I'm oversimplifying this just to explain, the muscles around the back, those hip flexor muscles and the hamstring muscles are pulling down so tightly that it's kind of locking us down and creating back pain. So you can use this practice. I tend to do this 3 or 4 times a week. I was literally doing this on my couch last night with a massage ball. So a bigger ball because my hip joint just needed even more. So you can do this anytime. This brings me a whole lot of relief. I very rarely have what I would describe as back pain anymore, but you know, everything gets tight and things move around. So when I'm having any kind of discomfort in my back rib cage or my like sciatic nerve type stuff, like pain in the butt that moves downward. This is something you can try that may very well bring you relief like it does for me. So making your way now all the way up. Core always engaged with movement. So that's a real big deal for low back stuff, because a couple of other things that are associated with low back discomfort and low back pain are core weakness and lower back weakness. So just getting used to bringing your awareness to the core. We do this just all the time when we practice yoga. It's like bring your awareness to the core, bring your awareness to the core. So just coming up to table here, wrists directly under the shoulders, knees directly under the hips. On the inhale, so if you have wrist issues, you can just back your weight back into the knees and into the hips a bit so you don't have any pain in the wrists. Listen to your body through this. Just dropping into cat-cow, which if you've done any yoga at all, you've done cat-cow. This is just awareness and opening up the spine and opening up the tightness at the front line of the body and also at the lower back. So on the inhale, tailbone lifts, belly drops, crown of the head lifts up. On the exhale, tailbone rounds under, navel, draw that navel toward the spine, so that core engagement, core awareness piece, back rounds. Head drops, see if you can release the weight of your head, so really relax the neck here. On your next inhale, tilt that tailbone upward, drop the belly, lift the crown of the head. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm closing my eyes, trying to bring my spine into my awareness by focusing on it one vertebra at a time. So leading with the tip of the tailbone in the transition, trying to move one vertebra at a time into my cow. On the exhale, tucking tailbone under, trying to move one vertebra at a time, rounding up into my cat. So I always say that yoga is an awareness practice. The more we practice, the more awareness we get of our bodies in general. So cat-cow is something that I would recommend literally for everyone once a day anyways. Our spines tighten in direct correlation to the aging process. The older we get, the tighter our spines get if we're not doing some type of awareness practice with the spine. So coming back to your table, I'm going to turn towards you because I'm going to just take this into barrel rolls now. Once again, if you're feeling discomfort in your wrists, you could always just come up to your fists here. It's not going to feel good for me because I've got my fists on the floor. You'd want them on a soft yoga mat or on a blanket. And now I'm just going to come into barrel rolls. So I'm just going to sort of take that cat-cow movement and I'm going to bring it into the sides of my body. Now notice how I'm bending into my elbows here. So I'm bringing my whole body into this. I'm dropping down into that cow, coming out to the side, rounding up into cat, and coming out to the other side. So a little bit of free movement. If you've never done this before, just like everything in yoga, it'll feel awkward for a minute. So again, any kind of tightness anywhere that is around the lower back can display as lower back pain. Coming back to your table, we're just coming down to our bellies here. So if you practice yoga, you're used to doing a chaturanga, you're welcome to do a modified chaturanga here, drawing the elbows toward each other and just dropping straight down to your mat. Many who are viewing this probably don't do yoga. I'm going to recommend you come to your elbows here and just make your way down. So this is intended to be therapeutic for all bodies. So bringing the tops of the feet down to the mat. We're not doing any standing postures today, and it's winter, so I still have my socks on. So you could certainly, with most If I were teaching a hatha yoga class, we were doing standing postures, we wouldn't have socks on. But here makes no difference. So elbows just coming in, bringing the elbows to sort of like under your shoulders. We do this posture in almost every single one of my yin classes. Now, the first thing I want you to notice, I want you to relax down. The reason I have these arms placed the way I do is because I'm trying to prop my body up so I can just relax. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is low back compression in here. Is it painful? If it's painful, I just want you to come down lower. So just make a pillow of your hands and bring your chin to your hands and just stay right there. If it's not painful, if you just feel a little bit of compression, that's fine. So elbows under the shoulders. For those who are down lower on your hands, just stay right there. What we're doing in either of these postures is we're getting a little lengthening in the front line of the body. So think again to that person, me, seated for 29 years, in a chair, many different jobs during those 29 years, but all involved sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day and using a computer and a mouse. And often we are hunched forward a bit in our shoulders. We have our head facing down often. We're seated, so our hip flexors inside these hips are shortening. And we're often not paying attention to our alignment. So we don't have nice, straight, tall spine. So we're shortening the front line of the body as well. So you can just take a couple of breaths here, or you can take a little tiny twist. I want you to be very mindful of your body. So I'm going to sort of anchor my left elbow here. Left elbow, just keeping it right where it is and just bringing my awareness to my left elbow. And then I'm going to roll my hips the tiniest bit, bringing that left front hip bone toward the mat. So this is just a little twist. And then I'm just going to turn my head a bit over my right shoulder. What you might feel in this posture or in this slight movement is you might feel a little bit more of a stretch coming from sort of like down in the abdomen to the left side of the abdomen, because that's where the hip flexor muscle lives. And you might feel it almost all the way up to the rib cage. Same thing on the other side. So right elbow, just anchoring it, bringing your awareness there, rocking the hips just the tiniest bit, bringing the front of that hip bone toward the mat as you turn your head to the left. Just take a breath in through the nose, out through the nose. Feel that juicy stretch. Again, if anything at all I show you here today hurts your body, mild discomfort is fine. Pain is never fine. So I have some who are still down like this. And if this was too intense for your body and you're down here, then this is a good posture for you for lengthening the front line of the body. So from wherever you are, engage your core, press your way up. We're just going to rock back for a minute here. So coming up to table, bringing the knees wide, because we just created that little bit of compression in the lower back, we're just going to stretch it out a little bit. So if you're familiar with wide-legged child's pose, that's what I'm working my way toward. So bringing the knees wider, if this isn't right for your body, just like everything else, don't do it. But this is just a great stretch for the back line of the body and to take that compression out from the last posture. So I'm walking my arms forward, tucking my chin to my chest, dropping my head toward the mat. And you should feel a stretch probably starting at that lumbar spine all the way up into the thoracic spine, the mid-back, and maybe even all the way up into the cervical spine. Making your way back up to table. So now we're going to focus on something for hamstrings. What's so important for anyone who has lower back stuff. Really, really important when you do anything that's forward folding. So in real life, many back injuries actually come from improper lifting. We've all heard the lift with your legs, lift with your legs. And part of the reason we do that is so we're not lifting with our lower back. So when we practice yoga, if we have a lot of tightness in our hamstrings, so this was the reason for the extra blanket. If you've got an extra blanket or two, fold them right up. So this is pretty chunky. I've got a good inch here. And this is really very important for lower backs going into a forward folding position. So I'm sitting right up on top of this blanket. And then I'm just going to sort of wiggle my way forward until it almost feels like I almost drop off the edge, like my sits bones are sort of like hanging off the edge of this folded blanket, putting my legs out in front, but the tissue of my butt is actually holding me on to this blanket. So what happens here, bring your legs out straight, what happens here with this lift for most bodies is that it helps to bring us up straight and tall. So what we're looking for here, I'm going to demonstrate. So you just sit right there because your hamstrings are already lengthening in this posture. I'm just going to show you the difference. So average body, tight hamstrings, because we all have tight hamstrings. Hamstrings are tightened by sitting and not just by sitting. Our hamstrings and our hip flexors are also tightened by the things that are great for us. Walking, running, almost any kind of cardiovascular exercise that involves the legs. So many bodies with tight hamstrings, the average body, seated with the legs out in front, it's going to feel like a crunch here, like I can't quite bring my body all the way up into alignment. That's what we do with this blanket. So bringing this blanket under the tissue helps me to be very straight and tall, because what we want to do when we're stretching our hamstrings is going to be super gentle. But I just want you to, with a long, tall spine, fold forward at the hips. Notice how tiny this movement is for me, because I want you to feel your hamstrings. So I don't want you to try to come close to your legs. I just want you to fold forward at the hips. And once again, there should be no pain. Relax the feet. So this is actually, instead of like a hatha yoga forward fold, this would be, this is a Yin Yoga Caterpillar is what I'm showing you. So just allow your feet to relax. And lengthen through the spine as much as you can. So grow straight and tall here. See if you feel already that little stretch in the hamstrings, because that's our target area for this. And then you can fold forward with that flat back a tiny bit more and see if you feel that stretch in the hamstrings a tiny bit more. So these shortened hamstrings, these tight hamstrings, will often cause our lower back pain. From here, you can just place your hands on your legs. You can continue to keep your back straight here. You can bring your weight forward a tiny bit more, or you can even fold forward here. I always want the emphasis to be on folding forward at the hips first. Feel the hamstrings first. Feel the stretch and the lengthening in the hamstrings first. And then you're welcome to drop the whole body in. Just take a couple of breaths here. So see, what happens so often to us is we're so aggressive in our stretching. And we've all seen the forward folded postures in yoga, and we all want to have our belly on our thighs. But that's really how pretty the posture is never really the focus of the practice. And when we're looking at it through the lens of therapeutic applications of yoga, we can do a lot for the body with gentle yoga postures. So I would have you, my last video was on the breath. So when we drop into this slow, mindful, in through the nose, out through the nose breath, we're communicating with the nervous system, which is communicating with the musculoskeletal system, which is saying, hey, everything is okay now, so we can start to relax. So it helps our muscles to relax. Engaging your core before movement to bring yourself back up. It's a tiny, tiny little movement, but where our awareness goes is a really big deal. Bringing that blanket out from under, just resting back in your hands, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. And just dropping into a little windshield wiper here. So kind of just like we did at the beginning. Dropping the knees from side to side. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Just this little bit of movement. We're bringing awareness to the spine. Bringing basically the blood supply, blood flow, just like with any type of movement practice, the area that we're moving is being sort of like awakened. So now I'm just going to have you drop your knees off to the right. So this is called Deer Pose in Yin Yoga and some other styles of yoga. It's called Zee Pose. So just dropping the knees off to the right. So your right knee, right leg are in front, left knee behind. And I'm just going to have you turn. So what has happened here is your whole body has dropped off to the right. So I'm not going to have you worry about that much. Like we're not going to try to bring this left sits bone down to the mat. But what I want you to do, if there's no pain in your body, is just start to bring yourself back to center a little bit, almost like realigning the spine. You're going to feel some intensity in this left leg. I don't want you to feel any pain. Take a tiny, tiny turn to the right toward this right leg. Put your hands on both sides. And I'm just going to do some little baby circles. So loosening up the spine in the lumbar area. I'm in a tiny, tiny twist here. Just breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. If you have sacrum issues, SI joint issues, and you're hearing popcorn doing this, don't do this, or back away from it a little bit. Bring the hands back a little bit. And now I'm just going to drop down into my version of a swan pose. So I'll show you my version in a moment. With these postures, there are many, many different versions. So maybe you're just going to be up on your hands, just feeling like a little bit of a stretch, maybe in the upper part of the right glute, lower back region. So just a nice little stretch. If you don't feel any strong discomfort, you can walk your hands forward here. If you're a yoga practitioner like I am, maybe you have some flexibility, maybe you come by flexibility naturally, you're welcome to drop all the way down. So the goal in this practice is never how low can I go, how pretty can I be in my posture. It's never about that. It's about opening the body, strengthening the body, and hopefully learning little things that we can do, these little um, therapeutic ways that we can use yoga to help ourselves feel better. Let's take a breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And this is a short video, so we're not going to do this long. If we were in one of my Yin Yoga classes, we might continue to relax into this posture for 3 or 4 minutes. So engaging the core, walking the hands back up, rocking back into the hands, core engaged, soles of the feet coming back to your mat or the floor, dropping into that windshield wiper again. Keep that breath flowing in through the nose, out through the nose. I always tell clients on my massage table to direct the breath to the tight muscles in their awareness. So using their awareness to direct that breathing to the muscles. So dropping the knees now off to the left. Right knee, now your deer pose or Zee pose might not look like mine, doesn't matter. Left leg is in front, right leg coming behind to some degree. Yours might look more like a side saddle. And once again, just with your awareness, bringing, so this right sits bone down here, right under the butt is way picked up and you're shifted off to the left. So just bring sort of your core, your center back to center just a little bit, stretching out through the crown of the head. Tiny twist toward this left leg. Hands on either side. And this little circle. As long as there's no pain, little circle. And of course, you're also feeling this, so any tight muscles in the legs can contribute to low back tension and low back pain. Twisting, circling the other way. Continue with that breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. So with just this little bit of movement, we're opening up an area that's very tight on many. This on the left leg, this outer IT band or TFL, tensor fascia latae area, IT band, most commonly called. Runners tend to be very familiar with the term IT band because IT band and runners will be very tight, but also very tight in all of us. So walking the hands forward and just feel where you should stop. Listen to your body, where your body says, hey, that's where you stop. You know, because we're so used to, in our culture, we're so used to strong intensity that we have a tendency to seek that in everything we do, like the deepest, the highest, the best, we're always looking for that A, I say, the A grade. So now just drop in, drop the head forward if this is right for you. If it's right for you to go a little lower, go lower. You could even prop yourself up. If we were in one of my yin classes, I would be suggesting that you prop yourself up on a bolster here and relax in. a bolster or a pile of pillows or a pile of throw pillows. So just dropping in, whether you're up high or whether you're down low, just closing the eyes and just dropping into the breath and inviting that breath. So just take your awareness to where you feel the tightness. That's what I mean when I say inviting the breath into the areas of tightness. Engaging your core. Again, if we were in one of my Yin Yoga classes, we'd probably be holding this for 3 or 4 minutes. Engage your core because movement without core awareness and core engagement is often the reason that we get injured. We're moving quickly. We don't have our core engaged because in our culture, we don't need our core like we would have 100 years ago or 200 years ago when we were out working in the fields and working in the gardens and feeding the animals and livestock every day. Our lives are just different. We spend a lot of time sitting in chairs, rocking back into the hands. Bringing the soles of the feet in front. Just dropping into that windshield wiper one more time. You'll notice I'm kind of rocking my head to the opposite side. You also shouldn't feel any strong discomfort in shoulders here. So thank you all for joining me for this second class. These are the things that I would recommend if you have lower back discomfort, lower back pain, but they're also the things that I would recommend to keep your lower back from having discomfort and pain. So thank you for joining me. Please join me for a live stream class anytime. I teach live stream classes Wednesday through Saturdays, literally right from this studio, and you'll find all of that at kimnixonyoga.com. Thank you. Namaste.